Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Expecto Podcastium. We're here with your regular host. I'm Erica.
I'm Megha.
I'm Jess.
And we want to start off this episode by thanking Sylvie for making our amazing logo. You can find her on Instagram at sfsc_art, and we can put that in our YouTube description.
Well, thank you so much, Sylvie. It's beautiful. We're all brand new to this, and when we thought we wanted a logo, it's like, okay, we'll find someone, and she amazed us. It looks like we hired some fancy professional. Thank you so much. I can't stop staring at it.
Yeah.
Well,
it is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, we are so grateful.
So for this episode, we are discussing chapters 11, 12, and 13 of Philosopher's Stone. So we're going to start with chapter 11, which is the first Quidditch match, literally called Quidditch. So in this chapter, we have Oliver Wood just, super excited, all freaking out about, first game and being all Oliver Wood-like. Oliver's crazy obsessed with Quidditch, and that's one of the awesome things about his character is just how excited he is. And he refers to Harry as their secret weapon, and which I think is just great. And one one of the most mushy, amazing feelings about this chapter is when Harry is like on the Quidditch pitch and he's getting kind of nervous, and he looks up and he sees all of his friends holding up the Potter for President sign, and then he says that he feels braver, and I just want to give this precious little child a huge big hug, because it's like he's never had friends, he's never had people like there supporting him, and now he's got this group of friends who made a sign for him, and I wanted to hug him.
Definitely. It was so cute. Yeah. Like, this whole Quidditch match was just so like you're flying on broomsticks and you're doing the sport, and it's just like that another one of those moments, just that sense of like wonder and excitement. It's like a magical school. He's literally flying around on broomsticks, and then there's also that like sense of like almost danger, because Harry mentioned that, oh yeah, there were 700 ways of committing a Quidditch foul, and that like seekers are usually the ones with the most serious Quidditch accidents, and there's like these bludgers flying around, and like there's like this sense of like adrenaline and like fear, but also like you're flying on a broomstick in the air. What?
Yep, pretty much. The one thing I like about the way J.K. Rowling writes Quidditch is she doesn't like. Me and sports do not go well together at all. Like, when I was a kid, I played soccer for like 5 years, and I'm pretty sure I never scored one goal. I'm not kidding there. I'm not joking about that fact. And the thing I like is she writes it and she doesn't make it boring. Like she has Lee Jordan being the announcer, and Lee Jordan as the announcer is just amazing. And that's one thing that I think really helps with not making Quidditch boring to read, is having him adding in that bit of comedy to it. And that's I think if they didn't have such a charismatic person doing that, it wouldn't have been as interesting.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I definitely think Jordan makes the game as well. Just his commentary is so funny. I think first of all, just as a child, but even as an adult, when you go back and reread it, you see how cheeky it really is as well. My favorite one that he says, my favorite line in this, or my favorite little bit, is and the quaffle is taken immediately by Angelina Johnson of Gryffindor. What an excellent chase that girl is, and rather attractive too. And then and then you can just hear McGonagall go Jordan, no. It's so, I love it. It's so brilliant because he's just such a cheeky teenager. Oh, it's brilliant. I love it so much.
I really love the relationships between McGonagall and her students, because for Lee Jordan and stuff, you can just McGonagall, people think of as this almost almost kind of stuck up but very strict teacher, and then you see these few scenes with some of her students where they can get such a rise out of her. It's like, I love this relationship.
Yeah, McGonagall, you see so many sides of her come out throughout the series. So that's what I like about her, is we're always finding out new things about her that adds more depth to her character. And then we have stupid Marcus Flint, and he like attacks Harry when he tries to go and get the snitch. This like Marcus Flint seems like the kind of character where he's that like asshole bully. Like there's lots of bullies in this series, but Marcus Flint just seems like one of those guys that you just he's just so rudely mean. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like Marcus Flint is the, you know, that's almost like that stereotype. People who don't know the books are well, like Slytherins are all evil and mean and like horrible and like villains. I feel like Marcus Flint is that stereotype to a T. He is like that cruel, like cheating Slytherin stereotype.
Yeah. And then we have Harry's broom getting jinxed.
Yeah.
And then one thing about that that I just this again just wanted me to made me want to hug him is Neville started crying. He was crying in Hagrid's like arms because of Harry getting jinxed, and I'm just like, oh, he's such a oh my god, I love Neville so much. I just want to hug him all day.
he is.
Yeah.
He's like just he is such like a little baby, and you just want to like take care of him. And he's like such like a little sensitive like child like person, and it's so like refreshing and nice to have a young boy who is that emotional and shows that emotion. You
Yeah,
know, someone like just a very like real character,
yeah.
especially at that age. You know,
Well, let's get back to the broom getting jinxed.
Yeah. And no one notices for a little while. And then Hagrid's like, what's going on? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting how Hagrid's voiced it. Like, there was that slight sense of this is a lot scarier than it seems, because when Hagrid's voice was shaking and saying that this is only made up by dark magic. So, like, to readers, it's like, wait, something's going on here. This is like indicative of like the plot. Something's there. Something's strange. Something's dangerous. Something's dark.
Mm-hmm. And one thing about this part was, I think for someone who is only reading these, like when people were reading these books as they're coming out, J.K. Rowling did a really good job of writing it so that we seriously think that it is Snape who's the bad guy here. Like, if I was reading it not knowing what was actually happening, then I totally would have thought that it was Snape. I mean, I think everyone would. And so that's what I think was a good thing about the way that this was written.
Definitely.
It also set up Snape's his general plot line of the like it continues to be a mystery if he's the bad guy or not. Throughout the books, like you're always unsure if he's the one of the antagonists. He's kind of like he's a you never know which side Snape is truly on until Deathly Hallows. So this sort of starts that beginning of that theme throughout the books.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. He's always kind of straddling the line between, is he against them? Is he not? There are things he does, and it's like, and I feel like with every book up until like Deathly Hallows, like literally every single book in the series, you see like more and more of Snape, and you start seeing his actions in like a slightly different light, and he's just always that mystery. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I definitely agree. I think he's definitely like a wild card. You know, like you never know. Yeah, like you guys were saying, you never know where he stands, or never know if you can actually trust him or not.
Very interesting. And kind of going back to how J.K. Rowling set it up as like oh, Snape's the evil one, obviously, in this scene. The way she just, like, J.K. Rowling slipped in the line of, like, oh, Hermione didn't even say sorry, she knocked Professor Quirrell headfirst in the row in front. Like, the way she phrased it is kind of like, oh, look, Hermione's so hell-bent on this that she's knocking over Professor, doesn't even say sorry, Hermione, the one who's, like, who loves professors. When it's actually, when you read it back afterwards, it's like, whoa, Hermione knocked over, like, the real person who's jinxing the broom.
Exactly. It's like I can compare it to the Easter egg
Yeah.
in Order of the Phoenix, where they're cleaning out
Yes,
Grimmauld Place
exactly.
and they find the locket, and you're just like, that's there. That's a thing. Oh my god, yeah. I love. There's little Easter eggs that are put in there, and I like that. I like the Easter eggs, and you can totally tell that she planned this whole book series out to a T. Not to a T, but she put in things in each book that will be referenced in future books that are actually super important.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with that. I just want to quickly mention Hagrid. He's so sweet and funny, and like he just makes that mistake of like almost letting out like this secret of Nicolas Flamel, and he gets like so angry with himself. But then like he also has like the three of them, like Ron, Harry, and Hermione, like just like pushing their nose into his business and like really investigating him, and like he just almost lets it slip because they're just so nosy and like curious.
Totally agree there, 100%.
Hagrid's amazing. One of me and my friends, our favorite lines to quote each other is, I think it's from the movie, is like, oh, should not have said that, I should not have said that.
There's
Like,
this thing that I saw somewhere. It was basically like a Harry Potter film drinking game where you take a shot every time something happens or someone does something. Like one of them was whenever Malfoy says, "My father would hear about this," or like when Hagrid said something he shouldn't have said, something like that. You know, Ron says, "Bloody hell," blah blah blah, and that made me think of that one. Yeah, I think we're done with chapter 11. We'll move on to chapter 12, which is the Mirror of Erised. This is one of my favorite chapters in this book. I love this one. There's so much sweetness and happiness that happens for Harry in this, but it's also sad. One of the best things ever is the twins throwing snowballs at Voldemort without knowing it's Voldemort. Best thing ever. They're the first ones that fought Voldemort. I just love how Ron just tries to hit Malfoy whenever possible. And there's a quote I want to say here that made me smile where he says, I'll get him. One of these days, I'll get him. And it just brings me back to Ron's invisible punch during Deathly Hallows. Oh, I will.
I mean, you already got a punch in.
Oh, yeah, he did. But Ron's best punch is the invisible punch in Deathly Hallows. We all can agree on that, right?
Oh yeah.
oh, yes. Absolutely amazing.
So this chapter, we have the end of the semester, and then we have Christmas. So there's a lot of they're looking for hints and information about Nicolas Flamel, and there's a Hermione book quote there's a quote here that I want to give you. It's so Hermione, and it says Hermione took out a list of subjects and titles she had decided to search while Ron strode off down a row of books and started pulling them off the shelves at random. that just that line just perfectly explains them so much. Of just like Hermione has everything perfectly. Ron's just like, okay, I'm just gonna look and see what's there. And I know it's not a Hermione moment, but my Hermione shipper head goes and looks at that as a Hermione moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean by that. Because like that really is a perfect description of both of them individually and like how they work as like a team, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So there's something I want to bring up here. and it's about Madame Pince's character.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I feel like one thing that I feel could have been really interesting is having her character be a bit more of an ally to them. Do you know what I mean? Just like she's very strict, but I feel like it would have been an interesting thing to see her be more of an ally in regards to them just wanting to learn more about things, instead of you can't do this, you can't do that. If you're not looking for anything, you can't be in the library. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of that?
Yeah,
I think that's curious. Yeah.
I think that could have been very, like, I think it could have added a lot to the books. But I mean, I also kind of understand why J.K. Rowling wrote Madame Prince that way. Like, I mean, I think if you were a librarian for a school with like so many like kids, I think you'd also kind of become like quite strict because you'd have like all these kids trying to break the rules all the time, and like the library is like your sacred place, and so I think like one would definitely want their like sacred place to be kept like intact and kept a nice kind of like peaceful place.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point, Jess. I think it's also something to be said that I feel like, especially in the first few books, J.K. Rowling almost fell into almost like a stereotyping sort of situation. Because I feel like the most common stereotype of like a librarian is like that strict middle-aged woman who like stresses everybody and is very like there and like and I feel like J.K. Rowling almost fell into that stereotype when she was writing this book, because I feel like the first few books definitely more meant towards younger children, and so having these familiar sort of characters like the strict librarian, the grandfather like persona, some kids who get in shenanigans, I feel like that might have been more comfortable for younger readers.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I don't have a problem with Madame Pince's character, but it was just something that came into my head of how she could have maybe been written differently. But
Yeah.
we also don't really know Madame Pince all that well, so it doesn't matter too much. But let's talk about Harry's first Christmas. And this is again a situation of just wanting to give him a huge hug and like this precious child, basically. I consider this his first Christmas because this is his first Christmas. It's his first Christmas where he has friends, he's getting presents, he has people that care about him, and it's just the way how happy Harry is just makes you feel happy inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely leading off of that, just again, the run praise here. Like he is just such a sweetheart. And like he tells like his mom that like Harry probably isn't expecting any presents, and so she knits him like a Weasley sweater, which is so sweet. It's so cute. And it just like makes you love like the Weasley family even more because like they're just such good people. And like you kind of see obviously where like Ron gets his nature from, his like giving and kind nature, you know. He's
Yeah.
just the sweetest, like nicest person. Yeah, it's so cute. And then he gets after that he gets the very cool, very exciting gift of the invisibility cloak, which he immediately uses.
And I love how fascinated Ron was by it. I love how fascinated Ron was by all of these things. Like in the very beginning, Ron was just very much like even when Harry was confused about getting presents, Ron isn't the kind of person to be like, "Oh, why is that confusing to you? Why is that weird? Of course you have presents." So we're like, "Yeah, presents. What did you expect? Turnips?" And then turns back to his own presents. And doesn't really like focus on that surprise. And then I love how we can see how horrible it was for Vernon and Petunia to give Harry 50 pence note as a Christmas present.
What's 50 pence?
It's
Is that
like,
like cents and pounds?
yeah, it's
Oh,
very little money. Let's see.
Is it like the UK version
It's
of
like 68 cents.
Okay.
It's like 68 cents.
Got it.
Something. Yeah.
Wow, that really does suck.
And then Ron's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Is that money? Whoa!" And Harry's like, "Yeah, sure, keep it." It's adorable.
Yeah, I agree there. Yeah, Harry getting the invisibility cloak is it's such an awesome moment for Harry because it's his first time getting something that makes him feel close to his parents. That's why again this chapter is one of my favorite chapters in this book because this Harry learning about his parents just oh, oh it's so sweet. And the invisibility cloak, just Harry's initial reaction to it is what made me smile. Oh, one thing that I just love is the way the twins are forcing Percy to like spend time with them on Christmas. And Percy's just like, oh. And I can just see it in my head of them like getting Percy to put his Weasley sweater on and him like sulking and like, come on, let's be with family. Like the twins, they have their moments of like their jokes going too far and being kind of cruel, but they also have all these awesome moments of like, Percy's being a little sourpuss and they're like, okay, Percy, time to smile and be with family. And Percy's probably just like rolling his eyes, but he's like, yeah, I want to be with my family too,
Yeah. And like, yeah, I bet Percy's very much used to this because you can probably imagine like in the Weasley household, Christmas dinners and stuff would be very much like a family thing, where Percy can't run away, But yeah, I thought it was really interesting because I mean, Fred and George kind of mentioned it, but Ron's Weasley letter doesn't have a letter on it, but Percy's does, and so does Fred and George's. And I'm kind of curious why that is.
Yeah. The thing that goes into my head there is just I don't want to go and say that Ron was a neglected child. I don't think he was. I think his parents loved him. But I think too often than not, and I can quote Dumbledore from later in this chapter, Ron is in the shadows of his older brothers. And that's not at all me saying that Molly and Arthur like don't care about him or neglect him. I think they love him, but I think he can get somewhat neglected accidentally, and they probably don't realize it. So that's just what comes into my mind when I think of that. And knowing my Wheezy, I can only imagine what's in his head during that.
I kind of feel sorry for like Ron and kind of the whole thing about him being overshadowed. I'd kind of almost see how he would feel overshadowed because like first of all, again, it's not Molly's fault or his parents' fault, but like I think Molly knows that he hates maroon, but I'm not sure if that's like 100%. Okay.
I think we might be overanalyzing Ron and the sweater.
Maybe. I think it's an interesting thing to talk about because I do feel like there were, especially in the beginning of the book, while J.K. Rowling definitely planned out some big overarching things, which is why she was able to drop in all those like cool hints and stuff like that. I feel like there were a lot of things that she just dropped in casually as like throwaway lines just to make like a fantastical world and didn't really think about the implications of it. Like I know we mentioned at the beginning of when we were talking about the first few chapters, like the whole Harry's home situation really isn't great. And I feel like when J.K. Rowling talked about it, she didn't think about the implications. She just kind of wanted to make this like almost tragic backstory for the hero. And I think it's also similar here. I think she kind of played off a lot of these things as like, oh, it's just like a funny little like quip sort of thing. When later in the book, everything else it builds a different picture than I feel like she would have meant.
Yeah, I totally agree there. It's like I said, of just adding in these moments or these little hints or things that don't necessarily mean a lot right now, but end up being an important thing later on.
Yeah.
Easter eggs, they're called, but is in a different way too. But yeah, it's like, yeah, Easter eggs is probably a good way
Those are more like accidental Easter eggs, almost.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Next, they have Christmas dinner. And then one thing I just want to say, I do think that Dumbledore was gay. That is that's my opinion. I know that some people don't like, they feel like it was added to canon or was queer baiting, but for me, I just feel like Dumbledore's sexuality was not an important part of Harry's story. That's why it was never outright said throughout the books.
Yeah.
But there's one thing here, Dumbledore wearing a flowered bonnet. I mean, yeah, that's all I'm going to say there.
Yeah, see what you mean.
Yeah. But that is not all that important. It's just something I wanted to say. And then Harry goes exploring and tries to go into the restricted section, but he gets scared by that book with all the faces coming out. There's one thing that came into my head though, was when he saw the book. When he saw a book with blood stains on it, the first thing that came into my head, the picture, was Tom Riddle's diary after it was stabbed. But then I realized, like, oh no, it can't be there because Tom Riddle's diary is not even. I think like Malfoy has it. So, but that was just something that I wanted to share that just came into my mind when he mentioned that. And then he drops the lantern, and then Filch comes after him, and then he finds the Mirror of Erised, and he sees all of these people, and I like the way that she writes him slowly realizing that it's his family. He starts with, Lily, the green eyes. That's how she starts. And so he sees the green eyes, it's exactly like them, and then he goes to James and he looks so much like Harry, and then he realizes that it's his family, and then it's such a sweet moment.
Yeah. It's like that's like you were talking about, that slow sense of realization for the readers and for Harry. But Harry's just like, yeah, that's so pretty, how interesting. And then wait a minute, the eyes, and wait a minute, that that hair looks just like mine. Huh, what? And then I really love how in these books the reader and Harry like are together discovering these things and like have this sense of like wonderment and discovery together, and that's very evident here too. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think so as well. And then I think I really love the way J.K. Rowling described the moment. She says here, oh, wait, how do I find it? But she says something about it being like so happy, but also very like solemn at the same time.
Yeah.
I think it's so sweet the way she describes it. Like, not sweet, but I think it's so accurate the way she describes it.
Yeah, I agree there. I think I have that quote that you were thinking of. The Potter smiled and waved at Harry, and he stared hungrily back at them, his hands pressed flat against the glass, as though he was hoping to fall right through it and reach them. He had a powerful kind of ache inside him, half joy, half terrible sadness. This moment when he sees his parents, it's one of the saddest, most important moments of the book series. And it may not seem like one of the most important moments, but it is, because it's Harry. It shows Harry being, I would say, the most vulnerable, and so it's just the powerful kind of ache inside him. I like that phrasing, and it brought a tear to my eye. Even reading it just now, every time I read that specific part, it just gives you that little feeling in the back of your throat, like you might tear up.
Yeah. And it's like it so the more you think about it, the more terribly happy and terribly sad it is. It was the whole point of like you think back and it's like this is the first time Harry has ever seen his parents. He didn't recognize them when he first. This is the first time Harry has seen his parents, and it's so horrible. And like Erica said, it's so important. He's 11 years old and he's seeing his parents for the very first time, and he's also. And I love how he's like seeing himself in them too, like the eyes in like Lily's eyes, James's hair, like he recognized, and like in the rest of the family, like their knobby knees, the noses, like he sees himself in all these family members, and it's like a sense of belonging. It's so oh, wonderful but horrible scene.
Yeah, completely. Like, it's exactly like, I mean, there's no other way to describe it besides like how wonderful and horrible it is all at the same time. And then, like, she says that he sat there for a while just watching. Like, what's so sweet, oh my god, what like broke me is that like he like spoke to the mirror and he said, I'll be back, or I'll come back tomorrow. It's like, it broke my heart. Oh my god, he's it's just, I can't. It's just so much emotion. And then the first thing he wants to do afterwards is tell Ron about it. He wants to share this new thing with Ron, which really, again, shows how close they are already. And Ron is also like so excited. He's like, "Yes, I want to see your parents. I want to see, like, I'm so excited to see your parents." And then Harry responds with, "I want to see the rest of your family." And he's like, "Well, come to my house. Like, come to my house this summer." It's just, it's like pure friendship at its like best. They just love each other so much already, and it just gives me so much joy. So I know that like we get this like heart wrenching sadness, happiness from what like Harry sees in the mirror. But then it kind of like immediately after goes to this beautiful like scene of friendship between Harry and Ron.
Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah, we all agree this is a really important scene, but I also think it's really interesting to see how Harry acts afterwards. The first time I read this, I did not realize how I didn't fixate on this as much, but now looking back, like the obsession that Harry had afterwards, where he couldn't eat afterwards. He didn't think Flamel was important anymore. Who cared what Three-Headed Dog was doing? Who cared when Snape was stealing it? Even Ron mentioned that, like, oh, Harry, you look kind of odd. And then afterwards, when he's string with Ron and Ron saying it's cool, let's forget and go back, Harry hisses at him. And he, like, this is almost the first fight Harry and Ron have when they're both wanting to look in the mirror and, like, they're pushing each other and, like, fighting and stuff. And it's like, it's oh, and then after that, even more, Harry, like, he doesn't play chess. He doesn't want to visit Hagrid. He only thinks about the mirror for, they don't say how many days, but like days and days. And it's not great, but it's really interesting how J.K. Rowling like shows this obsession Harry has.
I do agree completely with what Megha said. It was like a big, you see how much it affected Harry. And then going on to like Ron seeing the mirror, I love seeing the differences of what they see in the mirror. Like Ron sees like himself all by himself and having all these accomplishments, having like accomplished all of these things. And he just wants to like stare at this version of himself, which like is so wonderful. I think that's really sweet. And then later on in the chapter, when Dumbledore finds them, he literally explains it perfectly, about how it shows what you desire most. So I have to just say the one thing I really, really love, just like the funny bit about Dumbledore, which also gives you like a little like insight into his like kind of humor, is how he says like, when I look into the mirror, I see socks. I see like you can never have enough socks. And like, first of all, that's so funny, but also I think the older I get, the more I relate to that. I fucking love socks. Like, I love getting socks.
And that moment, like there's a meme somewhere. Oh, there's this one. Oh, there's, you guys know that meme. I'll put an image of it in the video, but you know that meme where it's like someone's pointing to something and they're wondering what it is, and then
Yes.
what they do is they have Jude Law's Dumbledore pointing at socks, and it's like, is that Grindelwald? Because in Crimes of Grindelwald, he looks into the Mirror of Erised and sees
Grindelwald.
with Grindelwald. And it's also cool because at the end of this chapter, Harry says that he thinks Dumbledore wasn't being 100% truthful with what he sees in the mirror. So, it's that was something that just kind of what it made me think of, and also just this this is Harry's first interaction with Dumbledore, and it already gives you an idea of what his relationship with Dumbledore will be like. Of this, Dumbledore more than anything else is Harry's friend. He may be his professor, but he is Harry's friend. And that's one thing that I love in this his whole interaction with Harry in this. He talks to him like a friend. And Harry at first is nervous. He's like, oh no, the headmaster caught me doing something. But Dumbledore is completely relaxed and kind to him. And then he already knows about the invisibility cloak. So it's because he was the one that gave it to him. So it shows already that Dumbledore is his ally, and Dumbledore knows that Harry is going to have to break some rules, and he understands that, and he's already kind of supportive and stuff. So I just love this whole first interaction between Harry and Dumbledore.
Yeah. The care he shows, me saying that, Harry, you shouldn't come back here. He kind of he warns Harry away, but it's more like in a very caring way, and that sort of grandfather persona. And then also I found it really, I mean, when I was reading back over this, and I was looking back at Snape's interactions with Harry, and the first thing that Flitwick said to him and stuff, Dumbledore might be one of the only people who almost sees past Harry's the chosen one perspective. He talks to Harry as you've never seen your family. You're just a little boy still. You might have this celebrity status, but Harry's still just a little boy, and Dumbledore sees that.
Totally, and it makes me think of going back to chapter 1 when they dropped him off at the Dursleys. Like I had mentioned in that episode, that interaction between Dumbledore, McGonagall, and Hagrid just really gives us an idea of what role each of these characters will play in Harry's life. And this is that first referencing to that and Dumbledore's personality and whatnot. So it's really well written. I think for his first interaction with him, it totally, I'm just repeating myself here, but it gives you an exact idea of what his relationship with Harry will be like.
Yeah, definitely. And going on, chapter 13, Nicolas Flamel. And this is when Hermione comes back, the trio is back together, and they're getting thrown right back into finding who Nicolas Flamel is. And then, of course, Quidditch practice, and Wood being a fanatic, which is adorable.
Oliver Wood is so obsessed with Quidditch. It's awesome. And Ron and Hermione playing chess together. I remember when I was reading these for the first time, I already liked Ron and Hermione in the movies. And so I remember reading these books, and every interaction between Ron and Hermione would be like, oh my god, I can overanalyze every single thing said. Oh my god, I just remember doing that so much when I read this for the first time. But there is a quote that I want to give here. When Neville hobbles in, and then Malfoy did this leg sticking charm on him, and then Ron says, "You have to stand up to him, Neville." And then he's thinking Neville's like, "I'm not brave enough to stand up to Malfoy," blah blah blah. And then Harry says this. "You're worth 12 of Malfoy," Harry said. "Sorting Hat chose you for Gryffindor, didn't it? And where's Malfoy? And stinking Slytherin." I love that. That just so shows how much of a good friend Harry is. It just, oh. And honestly, Neville probably took that, and he, as it shows it later in this chapter, it gave him that little bit of boost, a little bit of confidence, and it shows how your friends give you that confidence, that bravery, everything. It's there's so many friendship things that happen in this book, like friendship moments, because it's Harry's first time having friends. So in Philosopher's Stone, we get so many friendship moments, and I love that part of it,
Yeah. And this whole series really, it goes to like friends are a big part of it. J.K. Rowling makes sure to make that clear that Harry's friends are a huge part of his power. That he like love is strong and everything, and his love for his friends, his companionship with his friends, the support of his friends. That's a huge reason why Harry succeeded in the end, because of his friends. Because friendship is hella important. So yeah, I wanted to add that part, and then I also more friendship stuff. I'm going a little bit back when Harry tells well, first of all, there's the whole thing of like the playing chess with Hermione and Ron, like you said. And I love how the reasoning that Harry and Ron thought it was a good thing for Hermione to do because chess is the only thing Hermione ever lost at. And so Ron and Harry are looking out for their friend and wanting to like show her that like have her go through this experience of losing to like have her grow a little bit. Which I thought was really adorable and hilarious. And then as soon as Harry tells them that Snape's refereeing, both their immediate reactions are like, "Don't play. Say you're ill. Tend to break your leg. Really break your leg." Just like that immediate, like yes.
Yep. Yep.
True friendship right there.
The thing I don't understand is, did Snape play Quidditch? Like, what on earth does Snape know about Quidditch that makes him qualified to referee? Like, if anything, I would think McGonagall could referee. But like, does anyone know if that's been revealed if Snape ever played Quidditch?
I don't know.
If you listeners, if you know, then comment and let us know, because we aren't sure of what qualified Snape to be able to referee Quidditch.
He's probably seen a lot of Quidditch games, but I feel like he definitely would not have played because back in his Hogwarts years, James was on the Quidditch team. So I feel like he would have associated Quidditch with negative things back then. But he probably saw a lot of games.
Wasn't Lucius on the? I don't know. We don't really know a lot about
their Quidditch team? Yeah, listeners,
yeah.
Tell us information.
Yeah, let us know, because we know about the Marauders, but we don't know about other parts and other interactions. I don't even know if Lucius was the same age as them, so I don't know.
He was.
I just thought that maybe Lucius knows Quidditch because Malfoy is all being all like whatever about Quidditch and saying that he's good at it and blah blah blah. And then we get Neville standing up for himself. He says, "I'm worth 12 of you."
Yes.
And I love that because, like I said, he took what Harry said and he listened to it. It gave him that little bit of confidence to stand up for himself against Malfoy. And I love that so much. It shows, like, I have been through that situation too, of just feeling like you're not good enough, you can't do this, but then having a friend be there and be like, you are worth this, you can do this, keep doing it. Their opinion doesn't matter. The only opinion that matters is yours. So that it's an important moment for Neville, because standing up for himself is something that he slowly learns to do, and I love this part of it. And then of course Ron tackling Neville. No. Ron tackling Malfoy. Ron tackling Malfoy, and then Neville is like hesitating, and then he joins in. I love that part.
Yes.
I like the way you kind of said about like Neville standing up for himself. It just reminds me immediately, like further down in like the chapter, where Malfoy is being a douche again, and he's like insulting the Weasleys and like the family, and he's being super rude to Neville, and yeah, Neville stands up to him, and yeah, like you said, Ron fights back, and then he gets into a fight with Malfoy. He actually like gives Malfoy a black eye, and he's like so proud of that. And he was like, well, like the reason why I did it is because he was insulting my family, which again, I think we said in the first episode, that like Ron, the Weasleys in general, but especially Ron, they have like a temper, and the thing about that temper is all like rooted in like protectiveness for like the people that they love, and you just see that here because Draco is just like insulting his family and everything like that, and Ron just gets so protective and like angry at him, and so he gets like violent, which isn't okay, but like you again see where his like anger and like issues lie. It's just out of protectiveness.
Sounds like the seagulls are getting violent there too.
Yeah.
I figured I'd just make a joke out of it because there's no way I'm going to be able to edit out the seagulls without editing out everything you just said. So, yeah, the seagulls have opinions about this, guys. Maybe we should have
They
them.
are very, yeah.
This fandom is so large it even encompasses the seagulls.
If anyone speaks, yeah, if anyone speaks seagull, please let us know what they're saying.
Yes.
They really, really wanted to get in their opinion. That's what happened. They really needed to share their opinion about this.
Yeah. Ugh. But yeah, this chapter is kind of great. It has those wonderful friendship moments with the fighting, and then also like the plot. The plot gets going pretty well, which is fun. It's also really interesting how they really figure out who Nicolas Flamel is by like supporting Neville and giving Charlie Fox Neville because Neville gives it back, and Harry's like, "Wait a minute, Nicolas Flamel's under my nose the entire time. What is that?" And then I love their interactions after this when Hermione's like super excited and finding her books and like telling them who Nicolas Flamel is, the only known maker of the Sorcerer's Stone. And then this didn't have quite the effect she expected because Harry and Ron are just like, "What is this?" And Hermione's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys!" And there's this wonderful bickering, and like their friendship is awesome. But yeah, the plot gets going too, which is really interesting.
I also really loved that like little bickering moment between like Ron and Hermione because again, okay, first of all, I also have a very Hermione centric brain, so I just like try and like pick out and reach for any Hermione moment. So excuse me for that for like the whole series. Sorry, it's gonna happen.
We are not sorry about shipping Hermione here.
No, actually, you're right. I'm not sorry, but like just understand, viewers, that it is gonna happen often.
Both of us.
So, yeah. So I love how Hermione's like, oh, I picked these up for a little bit of light reading, and Ron is just like, light, and like, because she clearly is picking up like bloody tomb of a book, and like just like dumping it on like the table, and like anyone in their right mind would also go like, this is light. I love it so much. It's so funny and it's so cute.
Yeah, definitely.
Going back to our conversations about how J.K. Rowling's like shifting the blame from onto Snape and making readers all think that it's Snape who's the evil one. That conversation that Harry overhears between Snape and Quirrell was so well done by J.K. Rowling because looking back with the knowledge that Quirrell's really the evil one, it makes sense that Severus is being all aggressive and like, "Oh, you don't want me as your enemy," and like, "Oh, have you figured out how to get past the near Fluffy yet?" And like, you can tell that Snape's trying to keep on top of it and like know what's going on. But to Harry and to readers when they're first reading it, it seems like Snape is just bullying poor stuttering Quirrell. How evil!
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I know we're gonna have a whole episode to talk about like movies. I just have to say how like Alan Rickman played his role so well that you can literally hear him in the book. You can hear Alan Rickman's voice. Like you can hear the way he says like, "You don't want me as your enemy, Quirrell," and it's just like this almost terrifyingly calm, collected voice. He's just absolutely phenomenal that sorry, I know this isn't about the chapter itself, but how like just the actor Alan Rickman can make you hear his voice when you read a book.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy.
there are two characters that I hear the actors saying their lines when I read the books, and that is Alan Rickman and Maggie Smith for McGonagall. Those are the two characters that I can actually, the two actors that when I read their lines in the books, I hear the actors saying them. I feel like some of the other characters I maybe do, but whenever I see Snape says anything, I hear Alan Rickman's voice doing it, and I feel like, like I said, we're gonna do an episode where we compare the book to the film, and we'll just praise Alan Rickman. But in my opinion, Alan Rickman was the best part of the Harry Potter film series. He should have. I'm surprised he didn't like win an Oscar for one of those roles, but he didn't have. I feel like maybe he didn't have as large enough of a role in it, which is probably why. So I think that's it for this. So we have 3 more episodes for Philosopher's Stone coming up. The next episode we'll be doing chapters 14, which is Norbert, the Norwegian Ridgeback, and then chapter 15, the Forbidden Forest. So we'll be doing those 2 in the next episode. And after that, we'll be doing 16 and 17. And then the last one, it's going to be like the finale. So we're, in general, going to talk about what we think of Philosopher's Stone, the book, and we're also going to do a movie-to-book comparison. So yeah, those are the next 3 episodes, and then after that, we will start Chamber of Secrets. And I already have guest host lined up for 2 episodes. You guys will really like him. He's pretty great. So thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to our channel. Comment, let us know what you think of these chapters, any opinions that you agree with or disagree, or anything that we didn't know that you did know. Please share our channel. Let your friends know. We really, really appreciate all of our listeners. And, if there's any episodes that you want us to do in the future, let us know. We always like getting ideas.
Yeah. And we really, really do like feedback, and we would love to interact with you guys and talk with you guys. So please, please, please do leave comments and give us suggestions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that. We'd love to hear from you. Like you said, any requests that you have. If you want us to speak about a certain subject, we'd love to do that. Maybe you could even get involved. We'd love for you to get involved as well.
Yeah, the seagulls want to get involved too.
Yes.
Close this episode was the seagulls at Jess's house. That was Jess's house.
Yes. So yeah, if you want to come as a guest host, let us know.
Yeah. Be like the seagulls, guys. Be like the seagulls.
Except when you join in, generally we wait for the other person to finish before we talk. But if you want, let us be vocal. Let us know. Talk to us, basically. Be like the seagulls in that way. Okay. We'll see you guys next time. This is Erica.
This is Megha.
This is Jess. Thank you for having us. Oh.
Bye, guys.
This is going in. I'm not cutting that out, Jess.
Please do. Please don't cut it out. Please don't cut it out.
Staying in, honey. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening. And Jess's face is completely red right now. I wish you guys could see it.
You shush.
We will all have moments where we're gonna embarrass ourselves. So
we're human. We're not reading a script. This shows you. Jess's mess up there shows you that we are real people. We're just love Harry Potter and are recording on a Saturday afternoon.
We are real people, and we have flaws just like the characters in Harry Potter.
Exactly. Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.